And so today it is an honor and a privilege to be joined by two of Canada's finest, Brian Doerksen and Marika Siewert, for an unforgettable conversation about music, faith, and the journey behind it all. Brian and Marika, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having us.
Love to be with you.
Yeah, well, Brian, I want to start with you. So it is the 25th anniversary of that great worship song, Come Now Is the Time to Worship. So as you look back and reflect, what are some of the thoughts about the legacy that this song has left?
Well, I mean, the journey that this song has taken around the world has surprised me, and crazy stories like musicologists going into the mountains of Iran, asking some local villagers, play me an example of what your local music, and they pull out these native instruments and start singing "Come Now's the Time to Worship" in Farsi. And then eventually the story finds its way back to me. So it's crazy stories like that. And one of the things I think at the heart of what the song was about and what we have been recently experiencing at some of our tour events is the invitation to come as we are
Hmm.
and surrender to love. And I think that that was really important to me when I wrote the song because I was in a really low ebb, a confusing season after the collapse of a musical. But that season, in one sense, happens for all of us in different ways, where life gets confusing and we need to be reminded. So I think that song helps remind people we can come as we are and we can surrender to love and bring God our hearts.
Well, and I love that because you're right. It captures the essence that no matter where we are, maybe we're in a good season, a bad season, a difficult season, God is always present and we can always worship, even in our difficulties and even in our joys. And so that is the power of music. And so, yeah, just thank you for allowing God to speak through you in such a powerful way through these really last 25 years in that song, particularly. And Marika, you are not just a songwriter and singer, but you're also an actor and a producer. So, talk to me a little bit about how God inspired you and why you've decided to lean in to this way of expressing what God is doing in your life.
Yeah, well, I think what Brian and I do together has really just come out of our friendship and our families, and so we get to kind of create and invent our evenings together. And I think part of our night is really about songs and stories. And so we, of course, Brian is known as a worship leader, but we've really crafted these evenings to show all different facets of worship, including, praise, celebration, but also lament and grief. There's a lot of people that come to our concerts that haven't stepped foot in churches in a long time. And we've created a safe place to tell our stories, to tell some of the stories of Brian's songs and my songs. And then we have these special moments where Brian and I have, we call them our mystery song moments. And they were some of the most special parts of tour where we really just look and connect with the audience.
Mm.
We don't get moments like that again because each city, each audience is very different. And our hope is to sing love over people. And so in those moments, the storytelling and really connecting with that specific audience is what is the most important, so that we give our all for that city and that particular audience.
I love that. I love the reality that we could just be present, not only
Yeah.
with God anymore, but also with each other. I think we need to reclaim that as a culture. What does it look like to really be present? And I think your album, your new album, Love for a Lifetime, really does reflect that. There's a tenderness to this album, and so maybe express what was going through your own heart and spirit as you wrote these songs and as you produced this album.
Well, yeah, it is a very personal
Mhm.
album, a tender album, you're right. And I was going through a season where I've always believed that all of life is sacred and all of life is interconnected. The way we sing our songs to God, the way we treat our family, our neighbors, the way we handle business, the way we handle it's all connected. And I just felt like, there's a lot of songs in the world about falling in love, but not a lot of songs about staying in love for a
Mhm.
lifetime. And even as people of faith, this is one of the foundational relationships in the world, that we believe that when two people make a covenant together and join for a life, there's a goodness and a stability and a flourishing that comes because of that. And I looked at my wife and I thought, my goodness, she has supported me through thick and thin, and all of the writing of these worship songs and other songs. It was time to write some songs for her and songs for other couples who have experienced long, faithful love together. And so, and it was early in the COVID process, you know, the strange COVID years. I had recorded a hymns album with my dad, and I was asking what's next. And I just set out to start writing these songs, and I wrote 40 of them. And then we whittled it down to 12 that are on the album. Each of the songs are unique and different, some sponsored by different couples who also shared a long love to help tell their story as well. So it's been a labor of love, and it's been really fun to take those songs out and share them with people and watch their response as they go, ah, I've experienced this too. Or even young people, oh, I want to experience long love like this.
Yeah, well, that's what I've always appreciated about you, Brian, is your ability to connect with life and that this understanding, and it comes through actually in what God inspires you to write. That worship is more than just singing songs to God. It's an experience that we get to share with Him and actually with one another as we walk in this journey together. Well, yeah, so thank you. We're going to be right back in just a few minutes with this incredible interview with Brian and Marika. You won't want to miss it. Stay tuned. Oh, welcome back. We are in studio with Brian Doerksen and Marika Siewert, and we're just talking about worship and how we get the opportunity to interact with God and one another through these incredible mechanisms, these gifts God has given us with worship and storytelling. And so, Marika, talk to me a little bit about the tour and what it's like collaborating on the music that's being made.
Yeah, well, Brian and I collaborate on a lot of things, actually, not just the music. The tours are just kind of one part of what we do. We're making special event films together. I think, we eat together. We literally, our families eat together, and I think our creative collaborations and our tour planning literally happen around tables. And it's a gift, the fact that we can create out of our friendship and our families and even relationships around us. A good friend of ours, his name is Terry Wildman, and he is the writer of the First Nations translation of the Proverbs and Psalms and now the New Testament. And the First Nations language, how they describe God, they describe God as creator and Jesus as creator sets free. And that has changed the way that I think we both collaborate because I mean, wow, like we've been created by a creator, a maker who allows us to then create and be free to create. And I think the things that Brian and I dream up together come out of that heart. And I think it shows when we're on tour singing our songs, even the jokes that we tell, we have a lot of fun on tour. And everyone's always saying that, oh, you guys are so funny. I'm like, yeah, I think we need to laugh more in church. Like, why so serious? Life is so serious. But yet, when we come together as people, of love, and we want to share hope amongst even grief or just laughter it's such good medicine for the soul. That all comes from our maker. And so, one of the things I've learned, I think, on this tour is how much our creator loves us and he wants us to enjoy life and life together. So I think we do that in everything we do.
I really love that perspective. And so I'm just curious, maybe there's some watching and they're like, well, how do you come up with a song or a story? And how do you decide what you're going to tell and what is really from the creator? Like, what does that process actually look like? I'm just curious.
I mean, I listen for whispers. I
Mm,
from a young age, as a young Christian, I guess, I was never the rah rah loud jumping up and down. I was like in the quiet, and
mm,
I think even as I've gotten older, I've learned to just listen more, go for walks. We live by the ocean and amongst trees, and it's hard for me to even be just in one place trying to hear God. I hear God when I'm walking with my kids. God is everywhere, and the whispers are everywhere. Brian, has taught me about song seeds, and I think for
mm.
creativity, there's always whispers of seeds. It's just are we listening and are we collecting them? So I think those seeds then you take those seeds and then you work on you put yourself to work and amazing. Well, we're creating things that have never been seen or heard before, and it's actually really a privilege and something we get to be a part of together. So
Mm.
Yeah, I love that because I think all of us have creative capacity, and
yeah.
because we're made in the image of our creator. I love that too. And so
Yes.
let God do that, stir that. And so, Brian, I think one of the things I also appreciate about you is your desire to invest and impact and mentor the next generation of not only worship leaders, but just influencers in the kingdom. And so, talk a little bit about that process and why that motivates you so much.
It absolutely has been a key motivator for me my whole life. I think it was modeled to me by my mom, Agnes
Hmm.
Unger Doerksen, and my father, my mom has passed, my dad is still with us, but I think both of them were in education and had a huge heart to mentor and encourage other people. And I think I inherited that and then made choices on that. And the way I've described it for people sometimes is I describe it like I'm riding a bicycle, like with one pedal, I'm taking creative risks myself, and I'm exactly what Marika described. I'm listening for the whispers. I'm waiting for the seeds of inspiration to be planted in the soil of my heart. And then with the other pedal, I'm encouraging and mentoring others to do that and telling them you can do it.
Hmm.
You don't have to be the most talented person in the world. You don't have to have, fill in the blanks of what you think you need. Actually, all you need to do is be willing to listen for the whispers, receive the seeds, and act on it, and take some risks, and then write the songs that are uniquely yours to write. I got started writing songs that when I wrote my first few songs, Faithful One, Refiner's Fire, I Lift My Eyes Up, they didn't sound like songs that were sung in church. And I thought, oh, this isn't gonna work, but it's still very precious to me personally. And I was surprised when, Faithful One and Refiner's Fire traveled around the world. I was 23 at the time. So this is what I try and impart to people. Look, whatever it is that the seeds are being planted in you, water them, encourage them, and I do my best to come alongside that. And it's been amazing to watch what happens.
Well, from one person who has benefited deeply from singing the songs that you have written, I just want to say thank you. And I appreciate that. Thank you for sharing with us how you hear God and expressing that and influencing and impacting other people. Thank you so much for doing this. It was so great to talk to you today. I hope you have an amazing time on tour, and may God continue to bless and reward you richly.
Thank you.
Well, for more information, you can go to our website at 700club.ca.